Good evening, Bahamas. It's Thursday, April 25th, 2013, and this is NB12. Coming up tonight in news, the United States Embassy responds to a cabinet minister's claims that the U.S. government is partially to blame for the local crime problem. The attorney representing 6 web shop bosses says his clients feel betrayed by a newly drafted piece of legislation, an abrupt adjournment in the trial of murder-accused Kofi Goodman, and bringing solar energy into the home. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. I'm Christina McNeil, and your NB12 starts right now. Thanks for joining us. A cabinet minister's recent criticism of the United States government is not sitting well with a top U.S. official here in the Bahamas. In an exclusive interview with NB12 yesterday, Minister of State for National Security Keith Bell accused the U.S. government of passing challenges onto the Bahamas by deporting hundreds of ex-convicts to this country after they've served time for offenses like manslaughter, armed robbery, and rape. U.S. officials called this a common practice, adding that it can't be done without the Bahamian government's approval. In fact, they said that there are 29 outstanding extradition requests for Bahamians who they would like government to send to the U.S. Vonique Toot reports.
U.S. Chargé d'Affaires John Lowell Armstrong is setting the record straight on criminal deportees sent back to the Bahamas after spending time in U.S. prisons. He found recent comments made by Minister of State for National Security Keith Bell both concerning and inaccurate. During an interview with NB12 on Wednesday, Bell criticized the United States for issuing warnings to its citizens traveling to the Bahamas when it has deported a large number of ex-convicts to this country over the past 13 years. He also suggested that the Bahamian government is not always aware when those criminal deportees come in, a claim Armstrong denies.
In some instances, and my personal experience has been having regard to where I worked formerly as a police officer, that sometimes persons would show up at our airport and we don't know that they have actually been deported. And so we would have persons here say, look here, we have a criminal deportee at the airport, come down so we can interview them and find out who they are, where they are staying, and that sort of thing. So we've had some significant challenges there.
We work closely with the Bahamian government, and actually for them to travel to the Bahamas, they need some sort of travel document, which is normally issued by the Bahamian government, for example, a Bahamian passport.
More importantly, he says, it's common for countries to deport foreigners back to their homeland after they have completed their prison sentence. In fact, he says there are criminals living in the Bahamas that the U.S. government would love to extradite and try on American soil.
Work closely with Bahamian law enforcement and with the Attorney General's office to extradite criminals, people who are in the Bahamas, vast majority of them Bahamian citizens, who have committed crimes in the United States. And we continue to work on that. Right now there's 29 extradition requests outstanding, people that we'd love to take back and try in the United States. Some of them, unfortunately, have been outstanding for many years.
But here's what the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires really took issue with. That's Bell's assertion that the U.S. recently sent out a travel advisory warning its citizens of crime in the Bahamas.
We have not issued any travel advisories. The information that we have issued was sent to American citizens who requested information from the embassy, and it was based on statements by the Royal Bahamas Police Force that were made publicly. We have an obligation, just as the Bahamas does for Bahamian citizens in the U.S., to look out for the welfare of our citizens.
The Bahamian and U.S. governments enjoy a cordial relationship, with millions of American tourists flocking to our shores each year. We asked Armstrong if Bell's recent criticisms of the U.S. would impact that relationship.
Well, I mean, certainly the United States believes in freedom of speech and discussion.
Armstrong could not say how many criminal deportees have been sent from the U.S. to the Bahamas since 2002. However, he did reveal that 123 Bahamians were deported last year after serving time in U.S. prisons. He says less than 100 of them were on strictly criminal matters, adding that some of them committed immigration violations. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
While leader of the Democratic National Alliance, Branville McCartney, says if he could, he would apologize to the United States government for Keith Bell's comments. He calls the minister's criticism of the U.S. appalling. McCartney says before the 2012 general election, the Progressive Liberal Party claimed to have all the answers to the country's crime problem. Now that the party is in power, he says its Minister of State for National Security wants to play the blame game.
I am appalled that they are saying, and he is a representative of this government. So this government is saying that the United States contributes to the crime problem that the Bahamas has. That is what he's saying. I'm appalled. I'm actually ashamed as a citizen for this government to be saying something like that. They're trying to pass the buck. The Bahamians who went to the States got incarcerated, and then they're back here. That's committing it? Well, they Bahamians.
While management at Atlantis is extremely upset after an American female sea lion trainer was hauled off the job on Tuesday over a work permit dispute. Atlantis President George Marcantonis called the behavior of at least 2 immigration officers heavy-handed and extremely unprofessional, but said they're dealing with it as privately as possible. Well, today, Prime Minister Perry Christie said there's a correct method to go about investigating work permit issues, and sensitivity should be exercised at all times.
We must be very careful when we exercise the powers that we have in being able to determine whether someone is lawfully working. There's no need to be abrupt in any kind of way that could cause a deep concern. And so what we want to do is to be able to reassure people really in the country that our intention is to have an effective immigration policy, and that means if you are a place of business and you are able to make a case for the staff you need from outside of the country, we will give you the best attention because we really want the economy to succeed, and that is what drives our work permit policy.
The young woman's work permit application was denied in February. That decision has been appealed by Atlantis and it remains under review. Officials later stated that a mistake had been made as you can work while an application is being reviewed. We understand the woman is back on the job. A newly drafted gaming bill would allow local casino operators to facilitate online and mobile gaming if passed. But that proposed bill isn't sitting well with local web shop operators who have been fighting for that very same right. Attorney Wayne Monroe, who represents 6 local web shop owners in an ongoing legal battle, says his clients feel betrayed that the legislation would even be proposed. But he says it shows who government believes in.
They feel a bit betrayed. I think the Bahamian people should be concerned because we have a government who campaigned on the slogan, "Believe in Bahamians, believe in the Bahamas." And at a time that we are saying that we're in a global marketplace, we should be competing with other people. We should be expecting to do what they do, expect them to come here and be able to compete with us. It is sad that we're treated differently in our own country, and that is really the sentiments of our clients. Gaming is just going to happen. The only question is whether it's going to be done by businessmen or by organized crime. And we have an example of that. I had to do Bahamian history, and prohibition is a clear example of what happens when you prohibit behavior that you know you're not going to wipe out and that you know is going to be prevalent.
Monroe says it is sad that his clients will potentially go through all levels of the court system to vindicate a right that is being served up on a platter for foreign business owners. According to the new gaming bill, it would remain illegal for Bahamians to gamble in casinos, but foreigners would be permitted to pursue interactive online gaming within a specific geographical area. Casino operators have been seeking legal expansion into cyberspace for some time to make them more competitive, while government expects that the new legislation could significantly increase government revenue from gaming. However, Monroe says he will have to closely examine the bill, which would appear to replace the current Lotteries and Gaming Act. A key element to the web shop legal battle is whether or not web shop activities are compliant with or in breach of the Lotteries and Gaming Act.
If this proposed bill repeals the Lottery and Gaming Act, which I see that it's projected to do, and introduce new provisions, we will have to look at whether or not that makes that aspect of our litigation academic. And the court does not embark on academic discussions and tasks. It has much more serious business to do than to deal with academic exercises.
Monroe says his clients see the current battle for rights as a failure on behalf of both political parties.
This failure to deliver on sensible gaming regulations in the Bahamas is a failure of both the FNM, who met with our clients in 2010, and the PLP. It's not limited to the PLP, it's a failure of both parties to do something that's progressive, that they now intend to do for foreign visitors and foreign business owners.
Monroe represents the Island Game, Island Luck, FML group of companies, ASU Draw, What Fall, and Chances. The leader of the Democratic National Alliance also slammed government over the proposed gaming bill. He says Bahamians should be insulted by the fact that a South African attorney was allegedly paid to help draft this bill when there are over 1,000 lawyers in the Bahamas. But more importantly, he says web shops are battling it out in court to stay open while government plans to present a bill which will allow local casino operators to facilitate online and mobile gambling to foreigners. McCartney says this contradicts the Progressive Liberal Party's campaign slogan, Bahamians First. McCartney, who was responsible for gaming during his time as Junior Minister for Tourism, feels government owes Bahamians an explanation.